Today you guys are going to be doing a type of argumentative writing called literary analysis. This is where you make an argument and support it with evidence from the text that you are reading. So, what you're going to be writing about today is what is the mood of Edgar Allan Poe's story, The Cask of Amontillado, and what is the effect? You're going to explain how the mood impacts the theme of the story. So, what you're going to do is you are going to have 5 parts to your paragraph. You're going to have a topic sentence, an example, an explanation, an analysis, and a conclusion. We're going to go over these parts to help you as you write. So when you're writing a paragraph, I like to think of the acronym as T. So this is stands for topic sentence, example, explanation, analysis. All of these parts are vital or important to your writing to make it a professional high school level writing. When you guys started first learning to write in elementary school, your paragraphs were a lot simpler, maybe 3 sentences. But as you get older, your writing needs to mature as you do. So no longer is 3 or 4 sentences necessarily a good paragraph. You want a paragraph that has a lot of meat to it. It needs to not only have evidence and eventually multiple pieces of evidence, but you need to explain and support that evidence. So we're going to go from maybe just a cheeseburger to maybe a Big Mac type paragraph where you have multiple pieces of evidence and you're breaking down and connecting that evidence. So this will be where we'll eventually get to. So your topic sentence is when you make a claim. It needs to be something that is debatable, so something that you're arguing. Usually it will connect to your theme. You don't also want to summarize how you are going to support this theme. So in the case of your paragraph, you want to state the mood. So how is the mood, what is the mood, and how is it supporting the theme? If it's a single paragraph, you always want to state the author and the title of what you're analyzing. So in this case, Edgar Allan Poe and The Cask of Amontillado. You want to avoid using personal pronouns, especially like I think or I believe. You just want to state it as a fact. You also want to don't directly refer to your reader as you. You can say the reader, the audience, but you don't want to say you because that kind of just makes your reader feel attacked. The next part is your example. Now, your example or your evidence is a quote from the story that supports your claim. However, you don't want to just throw it in there. You need to support it. You need to introduce your example. So that's where the context comes in. You want to lead in to your quote by saying like who says it, where is this happening in the story. Your reader needs to understand the quote and kind of know where it's taking place in the story. So you can't just leave the quote in there alone. It needs support. So, for example, as Montresor is taking Fortunato to the vaults, he says, or it is described. You need to lead in, give us that background. The next part of your example will be your actual quotation. You're going to cite direct words from the text. You're going to put it in quotation marks. And you want to make sure it's just exactly what you need. If you need to cut out parts, you can use ellipses or 3 dots, but make sure it still makes sense within your sentence. And you need to try to blend it in with that lead-in that we talked about, or that context. So for example, we have our lead-in. It is clear that Ivan loves Sadie when, that would be our context. Then you put your quote. With his nose, he pushes his favorite bone across the floor, offering it to Sadie. So there's our quote. you have your lead-in, and it sounds like one complete sentence. To end your example, you're going to need a citation. So, this is when you give credit to where you got it. So you're going to put your quote in quotation marks. Then you're going to put the page number and the period. Because you already cited Edgar Allan Poe in the beginning, you don't necessarily need to put his last name, but you can. But you can put the page number of where you got it in the story. So it would be quote. You could put parentheses, Poe 4, parentheses, period. Always remember that your punctuation, unless it's a question mark or exclamation point, it needs to go here. So if there's a question mark or exclamation point, it can go inside the quotes, but your period always goes after the parentheses. And even if there's an exclamation point or a question mark here, still put a period here. You should always go quotation, citation, punctuation. Try to remember that rhyme, and you'll always cite correctly. The next part of your paragraph after your example is the explanation. This is where you explain what your quote means. So, for example, in your paragraph, you're going to make a claim about the mood and connect it to the theme. Your quote should be a quote from the text that shows the mood. So in your explanation, you're going to tell us how this quote shows the mood. So, like here, the author shows a creepy mood because you want to tell us how this quote shows the mood. Next is your analysis. This is where you're going to connect the mood to the theme. So this is the most important part of your paragraph. You want to, this is where you are making the connection, and these are your thoughts. This is the most important part. You want to make sure you're connecting, again, the mood to the theme. How does this mood show the theme? You want to use words like affect, so or because, or in order to. So, the mood shows, Poe creates this creepy mood in order to show this theme because. That's what you're doing, you're explaining. So, your conclusion sentence is where you're going to restate your topic sentence, restate your claim, and connect it back to that theme, the so what. Why did the author write the story? Why is this important to us? So it's restating your topic sentence and then adding a bit more. Why is this story important? And that's what's going to give you a good, solid paragraph, something that has a lot of meat to it and that people and your readers will be able to enjoy. So let's go back to the assignment and look at the example I have for you. So this one is similar to what you're going to do, except instead of mood, it's going to be, this is using the example of a symbol from a different Edgar Allan Poe story. So let's break down the topic sentence. In The Pit and the Pendulum, Edgar Allan Poe uses the pit as a symbol of death to show it's impossible to overcome fear. So we have our symbol. You guys will put your mood, so uses a creepy mood to show that it's possible to overcome fear. Here is the quote, context, and citation. Here I use 2 quotes. You don't have to, you can if you want, but you at least need 1 quote. When the prisoner first discovered the pit, he, shaking in every limb, groped his way back to the wall, resolving to die rather than risk the terrors of the well. Poe 3. You see I got my lead-in, my quote, and my citation. And I added a second quote. Later in the story, after the fiery wall started closing on him, he stated, "The coolness of the pit came over my soul. I rushed to its deadly brink." Poe 7. So again, I have my quote, my context, my quote, my citation. And for this one, I needed 2 because I'm kind of showing a change. Here's my explanation. Here, the author shows that the prisoner was frightened of the pit, but later wanted to die in the pit. I'm explaining these quotes. This first quote showed that he was afraid, but then the second one shows that change, that he wanted to die there. So not very happy, not very cheery, but it's showing the point. Here's the analysis. The symbol of the pit, so I'm connecting back to the symbol, creates the effect that the death he feared the most is now the death he wants. He overcame his fears. I'm connecting it back to the theme. Poe shows readers that you can overcome fear by using the symbol of the pit to represent death. So, again, connecting it back to this topic sentence, but it's a little differently. It's stated in different words, but it gives the same idea. And it kind of closes it. I like to think of the topic sentence and the conclusion sentence as like the buns of a hamburger, because you want them to match. You don't put like a piece of rye bread and then a sesame seed bun together. You know, they're both parts of the same bun that were cut in half. So they need to match, they need to go together. So that's what you're going to be working on today. You're going to be writing this paragraph and then taking a picture and turning it in or submitting it to Canvas.